All right, great. Well, thank you. So like Bob said, he wanted me to talk about some of the essential principles of marketing, or at least that's what I put together, of networking. And most of us do networking, whether that's in industry groups or whatever, and I know this is a topic that all of you have talked about or heard about. But sometimes when we talk about these things, if you can just take away maybe a nugget or two, something you hadn't thought about before, maybe a new way to do something, at the end of the day, that's really what I have. Because obviously a lot of this for you all that are very successful in your businesses already, you're going to see a lot. So my essential principles of networking are, I'm going to read them down now, and then we're going to go through each of them and discuss them a little bit. Networking is about being a resource. It's not about selling. It's about engaging your contacts. The only thing better than a good network is a great one. Social media can be advantageous. Being a good public speaker will serve you well. Being seen everywhere is not the same as networking. Networking requires follow-up, and by all means, use common sense. So the first one, network is about being a resource. Be the go-to person with your contacts. Think about when someone says to you, gosh, I wish I knew a good plumber. Well, if you know a good plumber, don't you want to be helpful? Isn't that just kind of human nature? So be that go-to person. If you keep a good network of contacts, you're able to be a good resource for your people. Also, building equity in your networking groups, amongst your contacts. That way, you've put a little bit in your bank, so if there's something you need to ask of other people, it's much easier to do if you've already done something to them, for them. You've already paid it forward. Learn to interpret what might help people, and then try to help them. So it doesn't mean engaging yourself so much in people's lives, but listen more than you're talking. Anytime you're in a situation, you're on a one-to-one or you're in a group situation, listen more than you're talking. And if you hear something or some way to help them, maybe suggest you can. Again, just very light. You don't want to overwhelm people and make them think you can change their life, but certainly be helpful if you can make introductions for them. And also create and nurture your network of contacts. So we all have different groups, but there is a way to make some of those intersect. So participate and contribute to any of your groups. The second thing that's really important, I think a very important principle, is that network is not about selling. Don't walk into a room and start prospecting for clients or customers right away. Meet some people, build some relationships. Before you go into a networking opportunity, do a little bit of research. Ask the organization or the sponsor, ask for a list of who's attending. Take a look at it and see if there's anybody specific or a particular company that you might want to talk to, and then make a point of kind of finding that person that night. Be strategic in creating good alliances so that you can refer to each other. I know some of you are probably you probably are, you're in a lot of groups, like a mastermind group or a power group, a group of people that go after a particular type of client. For instance, I'm in one. We have a relocation results group. Are you in any of those types of groups where you focus on a particular? I'm in another group where we are all looking to work with golf clubs, private golf clubs. So as you meet people, think about a group that might all be able to work together, because of course one good lead for somebody in a relocation situation, if there's a large company moving from one building to another, anybody in this group, basically that could be a lead or a referral for them. So think of ways that you can create those alliances. Obviously, build relationships, build your reputation, do what you say you're going to do, and those referrals will come to you just naturally. People will think of you and thank you. Networking, it requires a sustained effort, not a full-blown sales pitch. How many of you have been in a room and someone just, I hate the term verbal vomit, but that's what it is. They just come and they tell you everything what they're doing and, kind of expect a sale. We don't like those salesy, overly salespeople, right? Do you get that with the medical devices?
I think that's one of the things that turns me off from going to gatherings.
Right.
Is just knowing, oh, this one's going to be there. They're going to try to sell me this, or
right.
It permeates everything you do. You've got to buy a new car. You
right.
want a low pressure kind of just helpful salesperson.
Right. And automatically you have a turnoff, right from that. So don't get in people's space. Just a sustained effort, build a relationship. And most referrals actually come from people that really don't even need your service. Not everybody needs to build a $15 million building. but I get referrals from people that don't. They may know people that do. So next, network is about engaging your contacts. Keep in touch and stay plugged in. You're great at this. I see all your invitations. Tell me about one of your luncheons that you do, where you invite a group of people. What do you do at those luncheons?
Well, Elliot Palmer's Professional Power Hour happens at Capitol Grill the third Thursday of every month in Boca Raton.
Okay.
And what we do, and people who are attended, we have a long table, and everyone has 2 minutes to talk about their business, what they do, why they do it, how they do it, and why we should refer to them. At 1:30, I say to them, 30 seconds to go. It's very well done, great lunch, and that's what I do. But I also say, I'm here to help you,
right.
But also, I'm here to possibly do some business with you. I'd like to be your financial advisor. So we're here for 2 reasons.
Right. So you kind of have a captive audience.
Yes.
Right. And I know, Mike, you do that as well. And I have a Miller Power Happy Hour that I do in Palm Beach quarterly. Same type of thing. I bring different people in the commercial real estate industry together, and that helps me build my network. I'll invite about 20 and also let them know they're welcome to invite somebody they think might fit into that group. Usually I have about 15 of my personal contacts coming, and they bring another 5. Each time I've done it, I've had right about 20, so that's great. You'll always have job security if you develop a good network and work it. If something comes up in your life and you've got some major changes and you've been spending your last couple of years helping other people, building those relationships, it is that many people plus their contacts that can help you find that job and make it much easier. Always make introductions that you think will benefit your contacts. I put the caveat with their permission because you do want to be very careful. You want to make sure that both parties want to be introduced to each other. It's one thing for me to introduce, a new insurance agent to one of my friends, but I'm going to check with one of my friends first. If they say, you know what, I've already got that taken care of, I can let Howard know that, but at least I've still done what I said. I would try to introduce him to somebody that may use his services. A network will enrich all aspects of your life. How many of us do business with people that we also have social responsibility with? We go to dinner with people that we do business. Exactly. So a network, it can be part of your sports. It can be who you go to games with. There are just all different groups of people that you can, include in your lives. And exchanging your contacts will help you grow your network exponentially. That's the LinkedIn model, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The only thing better than a good network is a great one. The way to have a great network is to work it and to manage it and to look at it and to reach out to your people. So I suggest if you do not have one already, that you get some type of software that is a customer relationship management software, client management software. Get something that works for you. It doesn't have to be expensive. There are so many options out there just to do the simplest things, okay? And that's to have their contact information. Anything you learn about one of your contacts, enter it. There's always a space, whether it's notes or, you can make a custom field. Put things in there that you know about people so that if something comes up, you can always find that information. For instance, I keep notes of anybody I know that plays golf. We have a tournament coming up. Bob and I are on the board of First Tee. I pull out everybody that I've entered that plays golf and sent them an email saying, hey, this is an organization I really believe in. We're having this great tournament. Do you want to play? It's also a great opportunity when I buy a golf gift certificate or something to take people out. So if you can manage that information, which is very easy to do, it gives you so many opportunities for reaching out to your network. Again, when you have news that might affect a group of people, if there's been a new change in a law, usually in July, a lot of new things come into effect, at least in our state. So if you have something you think is relevant to a lot of people, do a search, find them, and say, just thought this might interest you. You've done something that you're thinking about them. The reason I say social media can be advantageous is because it can really be a disadvantage as well. If you, and social network, I'm talking about LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. There are other ways of social networking. You don't have to use them all. You don't have to use any of them. You can kind of pick and choose. But if you're going to use them, learn how to use them well and effectively. Otherwise, they will be major time suckers. Wow, very interesting. So you just share information.
I can't explain it, but...
So you put industry things up? Are your followers mostly industry?
Yeah, and then on the LinkedIn company page, it's more, hey, this is what we're doing in South Florida. This is
right.
On this meeting, that sort of thing. So it's more
okay.
focused.
Good. And Howard, what do you put on yours? Do you keep it updated regularly?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had, I hired people to do that, and I stopped like 3 years ago because I still get people that come to it to say they like the page, what they're liking.
Right.
Because information sold. But, you know, because I didn't know what to put up there, so I went to one of these firms and did it. And they put things that absolutely have no relevance to business.
Right.
Or then they did put some things up, or this, and I just thought, no one's coming to me as a result. And so the other day, I was actually on the page, and there's a new program on marketing, and I think it's just the most incredible thing. So I start writing this whole description of it, and I'm about to press send, and I stop myself. Because I got nervous because it's too out there.
Right.
And I don't know how everybody will accept reading that. Is that coming off too aggressive?
Yep.
Is it competition of mine that want to check into me? Is it someone that wants to try to get me in trouble for something that I didn't follow the right code? So I just decided.
Absolutely. And that's one of my points here. You need to be very intentional about what you are posting. Be very careful about having an emotional reaction to something and responding. I mean, that's a very true emotion, but you need to be careful about how people might interpret that or judge you for saying something that they may not agree with. So if you're going to post on any of those, whether it's, yes?
I just want to say something in reference to Facebook. I cannot be on Facebook being from Morgan Stanley. So I run a wine event every month, and the person I co-hosted with, he posts a picture, says my name, I'm with Morgan Stanley, and I tag it onto my Facebook. So my company really, he tags me into it, so it's beyond my control. Also, Robert Weinroth, who some of us know here, our city councilman, goes to a lot of events, and I noticed that he puts every event in Facebook, so I said to myself, why can't I do that? At least the human side of me with the CEO of a bank. So I'm going to start to do that. Every event I go to, I'm going to have myself and someone, whether it's the hospital or the medical school or whomever it is, on the Facebook, not necessarily with my company, but at least be the human.
But you can actually uncheck where you can't be tagged.
Well, but he's saying he'd like to be tagged. He wants some exposure.
Saying, though, just be careful, because Morgan Stanley says, well, that's not an excuse. You kind of went around the system. The truth is, you can uncheck the tag thing so you can't be tagged.
I didn't know that.
I didn't tell you.
All right, so again, if you're going to use social media, use it well, use it right, use it effectively. Twitter is really it's about a lot of conversation. You can be following people, they can be following you. It's really very interesting. Being a good public speaker will serve you well. Being a public speaker, being comfortable speaking to others, whether it's one-to-one, whether it's a small group like this, whether it's in a big room, it gives you exposure. When I stand up here, there are those of you that didn't know who I am, but I knew who you were, but now you know a little bit more about me. Okay, so it's very important that you be able to speak publicly and comfortably. How many times have you been, oh my gosh, like at a luncheon, an awards luncheon, and you have somebody saying, well, when I started my, how difficult is that to even hear what they're saying, because all you hear is the umming and the nervousness. So it's something to practice. Has anybody done Toastmasters?
I am a Toastmaster, and I will be a distinguished Toastmaster probably the next year.
Awesome. And how long have you been involved with them?
Since 2009.
Forever. Okay, so a long time. Has anybody else done Toastmasters?
Boca Raton Chamber, noon to 1 every Monday. If you'd like to join us.
You can just look online. There are chapters and meetings every week all over Broward and Dade and Palm Beach counties. But Toastmasters is great because it forces you to get up in front of your small group and give their timed speeches. And then they gently critique you. Here's what you do. Here's something that you could improve on. That type of thing. So Toastmasters is great. It's an easy one. But there are also, even the community colleges around all have speech courses. In fact, the reason that Mike is filming this is because I'm trying to opt out of the public speaking course I have to take at Broward College.
Got to edit that out, too?
No, you don't have to edit it out. So be willing to make announcements at functions. Like I said, if you're willing to get up in front of people, if you're in an organization and they're having a networking event, there's almost always a program. Be the one that volunteers to get up and talk about what's coming up, what's going on. It just gives you a little more exposure. Have a sense of being outgoing. Toastmasters will help you with that as well, or any of these speech classes. Even if you don't feel like an extrovert, a couple of you mentioned that, Rob, tell yourself you are. When you walk into a room, we go to networking events, I've walked into the room and not known a soul. The first thing I do, just to break the ice, I mean, what's your first tendency? What do you do when you walk in? I know you do some networking, right?
I do a lot of networking.
Okay.
You introduce yourself. You go up, you shake hands, you look at them in the eye.
To who? If you walk in a room and you don't see anybody you knew, what's the first thing you do?
First person I run into.
Perfect. For a long time, my first thing was to go, gosh, I don't know any of these people, and I'd head straight to the bar and get my, either first glass of wine or, right, because you're kind of nervous and you're thinking, well, maybe someone else will be at the bar, I can start a conversation. But my thing now, I walk in the room, I find the other person that is worried about talking to people because they're standing alone. And I make a beeline right to that person. Hi, I'm Traci Miller with Miller Construction Company. You must be new at this too today. Work a room. Something to kind of break the ice when you're networking. And if you are a person that needs to be seen everywhere, you can't effectively work a room. You really should try to not spend more than 10 minutes at the top, but 5 minutes one-on-one with any one person. Because you're all there to do the same thing, and that not to meet as many people as you can. You don't want to walk around handing out your card, but you want to spend a few minutes and then find an exit. Barbara, it has been so great meeting you. Do you mind if I follow up? May I have your card? And that's kind of a closing. And then you can move and meet somebody else. Also a good way to do that is if there is someone else you know, and let's say I've just met Barbara. Barbara, let me introduce you to Tony over here. So you're being helpful, and now you're kind of passing Barbara off to Tony, and everybody can do that.
I have a question, just going back one. I'm involved with several organizations right now, and I'm reevaluating from 2015. A lot of these are pay to play, so I'm spending $1,000 or $1,500
right.
with these organizations, and I'm just not feeling it anymore.
Right.
And what's happened is only like one organization I'm even interested in for 2015. So I have to go to these boards and say, I don't want to serve anymore. Thank you very much. It's a hard thing to do. It's only been a couple of years, though. You're in any business and you're making this financial commitment. And have you gone through that where you served on a board?
For sure. For sure. But you have to look at it from two perspectives. What am I bringing to this organization? And what am I getting in return? And if you can't find a pretty good balance, unless a charitable organization I would view differently. I really want to give. What am I bringing to this organization? It just makes me feel good to be able to help them raise money or to help them find more mentors for kids or whatever it is. But if you're talking about a professional and industry organization, I would really think you have to look at your return on investment. If you're putting $1,000 into this organization and you're not necessarily adding value because you're not really all that passionate about it, you're not getting business out of it, who is that serving? That's not serving your business. So find one that you do enjoy, you like the people, there's a good dynamic in the group, and really go all out and get to know those 12 people really well as opposed to knowing 100 people, in 3 or 4 different organizations. That's how I would look at it, is just to kind of assess, one, what are you bringing to their table? And do they really need you in that room? And because you're not really enjoying it that much. And if you're not, then, find something else. Or focus more on one of your others. Beautifully. That was said very Howard-esque. To some degree, we have to acknowledge that we are in these organizations to create business, to build relationships, for people to get to know us so that they're comfortable referring. So there is obviously an ulterior motive. It's okay to have that. That's not selfish. That's a part of doing business. You're investing your money. You're investing your time. You want something in return. That's okay. If you're not getting that, if you're not feeling the passion, why stay involved? That's not going to serve anybody. If you have no passion with that organization, it's okay to leave. They would much more appreciate the opportunity to get a new board member who does have that new passion because maybe they're new, than to have you sitting there twiddling your thumbs and just not feeling engaged. So you actually will be serving that organization if you say, it's been great these last few years, but I'm just ready to do something different. Scott.
On the heels of what you said, Howard, I had an epiphany recently, and I did the math, figured out I'm 53, average lifespan is 77. I'm down to 8,900 hours. I have 8,900 hours left, and 168 hours a week. That's not a lot of time. Time is becoming the most precious commodity we have. And, you have to spend it doing the most important things you can. And it's kind of like this networking thing. It's like a funnel. The marketing funnel where you have the magnet that attaches, it brings people in, then they trickle down, and then left are the real solid customers. The same thing kind of applies to friends who care. So when you go to all these events, there's probably a few people that you met through all of these that really did realize you are not there anymore. Hey, Howard, what's now? Are things catching up with you? And they would call you. But those are limited to like a few very important people.
Right. Well, human nature is what it is. And if you do what is passionate to you, like Bob was saying, this doesn't feel like work. If you can do things like that and be involved in organizations that make you feel like you're getting some value out and that you're giving some, those are the best ones to remain involved with. All right, so next principle, networking requires follow-up. I know that's a duh statement, but how many of you have a stack of business cards sitting on your desk that you've done nothing with? Maybe you met somebody, you exchanged business cards. Did you enter it in your database? Did you make notes on that business card to say what you were going to follow up? If you have that stack of business cards, you may not be networking effectively. You're only going to get good results when you follow up and do what you say you're going to do.
Do you do it with everybody?
Do I do what with everybody?
In other words, when you're in some place and you get 20 business cards, will you email everybody and say, hey, I'd love to get together for lunch? Even if, how you have a perception when you meet someone, oh, that person's not for me. You still go after them not knowing?
I have to be honest. I do not take a business card. I don't ask for a business card, and I don't offer mine unless I want there to really be something there. Now, if somebody offers me their card, I'm absolutely going to take it. I'm very uncomfortable when someone walks up to me and literally hands me their card. I have done this and set it down. Hi, I'm Traci Miller with Miller Construction Company. Who are you? Just because that is one of my pet peeves. I can't stand to just be thrown a card. They're prospecting. That's a person that's prospecting. It's the one that makes you uncomfortable. Right off the bat, you know they're going to try to sell you something. Why are you? I just set it down. Like, what good does that card do? And it's shocking, but I got over that after the third time I did it. I felt a little bit like the mean. No, don't say that on camera. Don't say that on camera. But I'm guilty of it too. I have some cards, but actually I'm very good. I separate them right away. We have our business CRM that links to our Outlook. I have my own personal Outlook, and and they can all join. So when I give them to my assistant, I mark them. CRM and personal only, CRM only. So if I cared enough to take their card, I'm going to put it in my database and make a note where I met them, what they do, and anything that they told me.
Traci, what do you use for CRM?
We use Profit by Avidian. And we've been using it about a year and a half. It was much better than what we used before, but if you want feedback on it, I'll let you know. Make a list, a to-do list immediately. I am in the habit of, if I'm talking to somebody, I'll either take their card and make a note. Like if I've said, oh, I know her, I can connect you to that person, I'll ask for their business card and I'll make a note on it. They see me doing that right away. They know they're going to see some action. Or I use note cards. I think I've showed them to you all. I carry those in my purse. I make notes on my note cards. If you don't have something like that with you immediately, you need to take a minute at the end of your networking, get in your car, take a minute, maybe dictate into the to-do notes on your phone, make a note of what you promised anybody in that room that you would do, so that the next day when you get in your office, you can do it. Yes?
I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
Networking has become, for me, a situation where I'll only take one or two cards in an evening. If I get one or two good cards, that's all I want. And I do follow up the next morning. I drop them a note. I'm not asking them for anything, just letting them know that I appreciated meeting them and so on and so forth.
Right.
It's something that you'll make more business and more better relations than you've ever done before.
Can I just comment on sending your a reminder? I send myself an email when I'm leaving the event.
Great.
Or if I just think of it, so I know that when I go into the office and I check it.
I do the same thing because it's so easy to dictate into your iPhone. I can send myself an email and just put it in the subject line. I can make a note or write down on something. And then finally, send a handwritten if you can. A quick email, if you have a lot of them, is fine, but send one handwritten note to either the main sponsor of the event, the person that invited you, the person that hosted it. Put your name out there and say, thank you so much. I met 4 people. Please keep me on your mailing list or whatever it is. And just make contact with somebody that way, especially sponsors. When you've had, we just went to something at Gibraltar Private Bank down in Miami, and it was a beautiful reception. And we had a little kind of a continuing education program first, and I sent the person from Gibraltar that had stood up and welcomed everybody that actually ran the program, and sent them a note. I mean, she called me the next day and said, nobody's ever done that. I'm like, I want you to know we appreciate the fact that you laid out this beautiful spread. That plays really well with people that you want to meet. Okay, it makes you professional. All right, last page. By all means, use common sense. These are my live and learns. Some of these are my live and learns. Some of them, from other people. But learn from your mistakes for sure. Be well groomed. Please make your clothes match. Make sure you're clean. Make sure your teeth are clean. How many people, they walk up and they've got stains on their ties and wow, do they look like a professional? Absolutely not.
What kind of network groups are you going to?
I know. I'm in construction, okay? Construction guys,
I hang out with Mike Wilson and Mike Carr, so we don't really come across people, right?
You never know. But, you never know. I go to these CASF, which is Construction Association of South Florida, and that is more geared toward the subcontractors. And seriously, I look at some of these gentlemen, I'm like, I am sure he is great plasterer, but he looks like hell. Yeah. He doesn't look like a professional, like he's representing his company. So it doesn't have to be a suit. It has to be a clean shirt and or tucked in or whatever your uniform is. If you make eye contact, make verbal contact. How many people walk by you and you're like, and then you're kind of embarrassed. Introduce yourself. Say, if you think maybe you've met, have we met before? I'm Traci Miller of Miller Construction Company. If you make eye contact, talk to that person. Be positive and a positive influence. What do you think about somebody? There's a speaker, and the person next to you says, oh my God, she is such a hag. Are you like, I'm so glad she told me? Or are you like, why would she say that to me? She has no idea who I am. She doesn't know what relationship I might have with that person up there, whether I like them or not. And I'm a huge proponent, just because you don't like a person, they may be the perfect person for someone else. So let them learn about whatever it is. Unless there's something completely immoral or illegal going on, keep any negative comments to yourself and be a positive person. Wow, this is a great reception. Wow, they went all out today. She was a great speaker. Anything like that. I got so much information. Right. Never have more than one alcoholic beverage if you're at a networking event.
Think at the end. Can't you have a second one like right when it's
Listen, that's up to you. Use your personal judgment. Before you get there, right. But use your personal judgment. How many times have you said something you might not otherwise have said if you hadn't had a second or a third drink? I'm just saying. Seriously. You get a little looser, you get a little friendlier. I know I'm guilty of that. That is definitely one of my live and learns. Okay? Always carry a pen, business cards. I know this sounds simple, but how many times you're at a networking event? Bob, can I take your card because I want to make a note to follow you? Oh, yeah, I didn't bring any cards. I'm like, are you kidding? You're at a networking event. You have no business cards? That's crazy. That's not effective. So always have that, a pen, and something you can make notes on, even if it's to dictate into your phone. Did you have a comment?
No. I was going to ask you, when you meet people at these events, do you ever go home and research them on Facebook?
Absolutely. LinkedIn? Absolutely. Yeah. Always.
Just to let you know what I do. When I meet someone, I look at the business card. I immediately go to LinkedIn, which, by the way, I LinkedIn you already just this morning. But to be a contact on LinkedIn, give it to my assistant. She enters it into the system where I met the person, which event it was at.
Right.
So I can keep track.
And any notes.
And Elliot checks their balance sheet too.
It's a better idea.
But that's important. And then choose your relationships wisely. We all know that you can be, guilty by association is the old adage. So if there's somebody that just doesn't have a good reputation in town, or that other people have had bad, negative, money-losing relationships with them, just try to avoid them, because you can be, people's perceptions, that's their truth. So if they see you hanging around with a person they think is really not of the utmost character, they might infer that you also are not of the utmost character. So that's really it. Those are my principles of networking. I try to live by them every day. Sometimes I screw up, sometimes I learn something new. So I hope you can each take home a little nugget or two. And if you have any questions, of course, y'all know how to get hold of me. So please do.
Thank you.